Cool. So we are on live. Hello, everyone. It is great to be back live streaming. We've got a little bit of a different setup today. So if you can't hear anything or there's something wrong with it, then yeah, please let us know in the chat. But it's good to have everyone. Today we are guests here by Comrade. So myself and one of the Alexes is here, and the other Alex is in the Ukraine. And we are going to be talking through some bulk API examples. So one of the community projects from last year, I think, was getting the bulk API up and running. And we've had requests since then from people to show actual kind of how it could be used in a real world example. So that is the aim for today. But first, I'm going to just do an update from last month with a few of our stats. So last month we had 661 pull requests created. We processed 839, so we're processing some from previous months, with a 72% acceptance rate, which is fantastic. And we had over 200 contributors overall, which is also pretty great. So it's great to have everyone, yeah, looking forward to it. So if at any point you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. I can already see there's one that's come in. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Alex, who's going to step us through the first example and also explain a little bit about bulk API and how to use it.
Thanks, David. Yep. So the goal for today is to show you some real-life examples of the bulk API usage. Yeah, as David said, project started in the middle of last year, and it was delivered to Magento 2.3 and Magento 2.7 Commerce. And yeah, it's still running and it's still developing, so some new functionality and new features. And basically, we were delivered two APIs. It's an async API and the bulk API. I'll not talk today about async too much because basically bulk has much wider range of usage. Bulk covers all cases of async API, and the difference basically that async is usual REST API, which can be executed asynchronously by using the queues. And bulk API is can accept more than one object in a body and also will execute asynchronously. So the bulk API is always asynchronous, but async API is not a bulk. That's the difference between them. And I will start with sharing my screen. Have to be fine now. David, maybe you can confirm.
Yeah.
All good?
Give me a second.
Cool.
Once it's on.
So yeah, let's start from the configuration. I mean, the async and bulk API both using the RabbitMQ, so you have to have a RabbitMQ installed. And to enable the RabbitMQ for your Magento instance, you just go into app etc environment PHP file, and you paste in here this part of the code which I already prepared before. Where you tell them that the queue and that's a connection name, and then you have like base parameters, which is host port, user, password, and virtual host. Those parameters, which I fill here now, those username, host, password, and a port, they're coming like default one if you will install the RabbitMQ on your environment. So that's the first step. After that, so I will use the RabbitMQ interface to show you the result and the status. And if you go into your RabbitMQ interface to the queues, you will see here this queue, which is created by Magento. And at this point, very important, if you align those changes, you edit those changes, cache clean is not enough. You have to make setup upgrade command. Otherwise, this queue will not be created, and all your messages just will be lost. So just to be sure that all configured is fine, please check your queues list, and you have to see here the async operations all queue, which is default queue of Magento async and bulk API, and it will accept all messages that will go through. Yeah, from a tools I will use today, I prepared some Postman collection, which we will go through. And also I have here the database, which I will use. I will show you some results in the database because it's a bit faster than to use always the API to get the statuses and so on. So yeah, that's the plan.
All the Postman stuff that you will show today is publicly available currently?
Yes, it's publicly available on GitHub. That's basically the project where you can find the Postman collection. I mean, that's a different Postman collections, but you can find here the bulk API. And here you have two of them. It's the collections that we will go today through, that's creating configurable products, and also the creating of the order invoice and credit memos. So that's what another Alex will tell you about today.
So if you're watching this and you want to try some of these out, find this, go to this GitHub, and you'll have the Postman configuration ready. So
I hope David will post it also like a comment to the video.
It is already in the video description, so if you need the link, it's
so awesome today. David is on fire. Good. Yep, that's one. So I will start then from database. Bulk API or Sync API, that's basically Magento Sync operations module. It will create new tables, which is Magento bulk, which contain the all bulk operations that were called. It will be filled during our demo, you will see it. And Magento operation, which contains a single operation of each bulk request. So I would propose, and let's go through. I prepared here several get calls, which are not async bulk. So basically, async bulk supporting only put and post requests. And in Magento 2.3.2, it will support also the delete request. That pull request was provided not so long time ago. So that's a good news for us because we had all the problems that we needed to delete requests also. But yeah, I mean, I will start with creating the simple products that will be like 51 products which I generated. But before that, which is also contained in this collection, that's a way to basically receive the attribute set ID. You have to have it, and in case you have some custom attributes, to receive the attributes list, because you also need ID of the attributes and of those values. If you go into, let's say, some custom attributes, you need the values of the options. So you can find all in this Postman collection. And then just let's switch to the basically bulk examples. First of all, what is the difference between usual REST and the bulk? Then you have those two prefixes here. It's async/bulk. And if you will kill here with bulk, the request will be executed asynchronously, but it will expect the same body as standard Magento API has. And bulk telling to Magento that this request will be executed in bulk. So it's expected a little bit another body. So the standard body basically is your product object. That's your standard Magento API. I'll try to do it a bit smaller. That's your standard Magento API. And if you're talking about bulk, we just like wrap it into the array. And we're transferring the multiple items just one by another here. And here you see like one body with basically 51 products at the same time. And the URL will stay the same, so nothing changed from the standard REST. And if I'll send it to Magento, it will take some time to accept them, and then it will return back the statuses. At this point, Magento is not proceeding the products directly, so it just accepted all those requests and put them in a queue. And also, if we will go to the tables I showed you before, that's our operation table. That's all our requests. They're just lying here and waiting when they will be executed. And if we go to the previous table also, that's our bulk, which is one request, which has a topic name, defined, and it's contained basically, as you see, 51 operation count. Operation. Yep. And that's our topic names. Topic names are generated in Magento automatically. I mean, they're generated from the Web API, but based on the Web API XML. That's basically the service contracts of each request, which has just like a async prefix in the before and the type of request in the end, like post put or delete. And that's basically the service contract itself, just where the slash is replaced with the dots and it's lowercase. This is happening auto-generated, so this means when you will have your custom module installed or custom API developed, it also will be available to execute in a single bulk way. You don't need to do anything special for that. How basically to execute this one? We will go to our Magento installation, and if you will do in Magento, you will see there is a set of the queue operations which are available. It's a get a consumers list and to start a consumer. Magento Community Edition has Magento Open Source. Sorry, I just realized this wrong. We'll have only one consumers out of box. It's basically consumer for sync operations. And yeah, I mean, if you use Magento Commerce, there's multiple which are related to B2B features. So no, if you use Magento B2B, there are multiple. But currently, we have only one, which is a sync operation, all which will execute all operations, like all operations which are in queue currently. And if you will just start it in this way, so this consumer will run in and it will always listen to the queue. And if we will go here, then you see that it started the processing. And on this table, you can see the serialized data, which we received from the request, and that's a result. That's basically a result of any service contracts you currently executed. In this case, that's a product response, which contains a just serialized JSON here inside. And that's a result message here will be an error if there is an error. That's basically it. I mean, currently I'll go to Magento backend. I guess I'm already logged out. Yes, I am. And if I go also on the homepage, just to. So basically, that's our products. Oh, I didn't show you, but trust me, there was no products before. I just displayed here a new products widget, which displayed like last 10 products. So yeah, that's basically it. We have here the products that were created by the request. Also, you can see here the message, which just pop up here. It's Magento is telling you that, the task, which is currently related to the service contract with 59 items, was successfully updated. And as a tip, here is a bulk actions log in Magento, where you can see the bulk requests that were made. That's an ID and description for operation, and then in details you can see how many are successfully updated. If there will be an error, you will have here the table with an errors with the failed items. Let's go back. Okay. And what I also want to show, I mean, I showed you that that's basically the database and that's a result, but you not always have a database access or you don't want to use it. So then you can use this ID, which is bulk UID. It's the same ID we got back here when you executed the previous request. And what you can do, you can get a status of it. That's basically endpoint which tells that's bulk, and you transfer here your UID. And then you send in a request and you get in this operations list. That's basically a mirror of the table, which you saw before. And here you have exactly the same data. Oh, I have something. exactly the same data you saw in the table. If you don't want to get the like full body and you want to do it faster, here is another call which is called just status, which will also only return your message and the status. Yep, that's basically it. Wait, I'll do it back for the break it. So yep, that's our response. And yeah, as we can see, we have 51 products in Magento. Okay, I also promise to make some show some tips and tricks how you can differently run the Magento. So like not Magento, like to bulk import. So what I will do now, I will do this one. Just will clone some windows here. So you can run the multiple consumers, which will speed up the process for you. I guess that's too much already. So we have here five consumers which I can run, and they will all basically work. That's kind of, you have 5 workers who is working for the same queue, and they will all listen for it, and first one get the message, start to execute it, and then like this message is already taken, so the next consumer will take that's the next message, and so on and so on. And I basically just will do the same operation one more time to create the simple product. So we again had it accepted, and currently if I will run this one, yeah, it's still processing, and now it's done. And okay, now what I want to compare these times. We have here that the previous 50 items took us, where is it? So sorry. No, okay. Then I was here a little bit wrong because I waited before run the consumer. So what I will do now, I'll do this one. I will cancel them all, and I will leave only one here working. Yeah. And now I will restart it again. And what we have currently, we have that this previous request, which we started to execute, system received like 1712, and now it's 25. So it took us 13 seconds to execute. And if I will check this one, it was from 59 started, and it's still running with one consumer. And now it's done, and it was from 51, it was 32 seconds. So yeah, it's basically almost 3 times faster if you run not one consumer but 5 consumers at the same time. We made several tests with that, and I can tell you, I mean, that doesn't mean if you run 100 consumers, it will be 100 times faster. It will not, because the more consumers you run in, the more Magento resources required to execute import of several products at the same time. So yeah, that's basically, you always have some threshold, and you have to take care about your system performance, about your resources. So yeah, be careful with that. Also, Magento sometimes has problems with the deadlocks if you run in too many requests at the same time. Always take care about your system load, like how many customers are there and what is it doing, or how many admins are there and what is it doing. We, on our project, basically currently running some tests. I mean, we have some test infrastructure provided by Magento, and I hope in near future we will get the test results. Then we can tell you what is perfect amount of the request you can run, or consumers you can run. So that was a simple products, and as time is going, I will start then with basically configurable products. Before that, I can show you. So that's basically our category 3 currently, and what I want to do before I start an import, I want to create some categories. So again, request is the same, multiple items in the same body. And if I'll check here, they're all categories are successfully imported. Let us check products. I tried to make this process of kind of categories as simple as possible, to use the old functionality of bulk providing, but there's still a problem if you want to make the complex tree with a child. You have to do it in several steps because you have to know the parent ID of your child. But in any case, here that's an example, those categories are created. I made one of them disabled just to be sure that all working correctly. But here they are. And let's switch to create a configurable product. That was a plan for today. I'm lost on it on this one. Okay. I'll call it. Okay, that's our body. So what is nice in Bulk API? I can do preparation of the creating a configurable product in one call. I don't need it separately. So that's a list of all products we need for, it will be 3 configurable products with 2 custom attributes, 1 product with 2 attributes linked and 2 products with 1 attribute, configurable attribute. To get a configurable product with API, you need to execute more than 1 call. And in this example, I'll run it so that it's not taking the time to execute it. But I created configurable products with, there's a category assignment, and it's stock management also, it's in stock product because it's our main product, and it's also visible. And then we do directly in the same call all related simple products, which has related attribute set. Let's say in our case, it's size and color. And they have an ID here from the get attributes call I showed you before. And it's have to be already here. Let's check it. So we have our configurable simple products already created, but they're not linked yet between each other. That's something you have to do separately. So first of all, you're setting up the attribute. So this means you telling that for this attribute or for this product, I will use attribute ID 93, which has a label color, and also I will use the size. And let's say for another product, I will use another attribute. And so you can also do it with a 1 call. Then you will have much more flexibility to reduce amount of calls. So that's what we are doing next. Here is our request. We have 4 because we have 1 attribute with 2 options and 1 product with 2 options and 2 products with 1 option each. It's 4. And then in separate call we link them. We link them between each other. Also in 1 call. So we have here the SKU of the main product and then a child SKU. And that's basically for all configurable products, where we have here t-shirts, pants, and Pickering. That's currently accepted by Magento, and it's had to be already not yet. So execution takes some time. Always, as I said, can use this ID to request the status to be sure when it's done. So if you build in your own custom ERP system or some own middleware to make some API connection between external system and your internal system, so just use these statuses to receive the correct status to know when the operation were completed. And let's check our products. Yep, that's our 3 configurable products which we created with API. With the custom attributes, and that's 1, and here's our 2, and all works smoothly and didn't take too much time. I mean, in my calls, I use quite basic bodies of the requests. Let's check here. It's quite basic. I mean, I don't have any images. If you will add gallery images, time of processing will be slower. And if you add some custom attributes or use some extension with extension attributes, or you will use some custom stock management, so the calls will execute longer. But what I like in this, all this approach that you basically don't really care when it's executed because the request is accepted like super fast. Yeah, and that's basically very good as for me as for developer of the like connectors between Magento and ERP, for example. One more interesting stuff which I forgot to explain. Sorry me for that. Original API call. I mean, if you look on a usual Magento Swagger, the call, which let's say, for example, with link the products with a simple product, will look like this. So this means you can execute only one link operation for each call, and in this URL you have to define the SKU. So there is parameters in URL, which is very common in Magento. It can be 1, it can be 2 or 3. So the to do with a parameter when we have a bulk, because we have a multiple items in one request. So what you have to do, I'll put it back up here. The parameter, which is defined in API like this, you basically replace it with a, what just happened? Replace it with a prefix by and make in uppercase like first letter of the parameter. And then this parameter is coming in a body. So usually the single API request looks like this, where you have only like child SKU link because the original SKU is in URL. If you're talking about bulk, then SKU is coming in a body. Yeah, it's the same here with a set of configurable attributes where the SKU that was defined in a URL before is going to a body. And yeah, and then basically Magento will map them together and will assign it to correct product. The good example of this one, and what I wanted to show you also, that's tier prices of Magento. The original Magento tier prices call has 3 parameters inside. It's an product SKU, it's customer group ID, and it's even 4, and it's KTI and it's price. And everything of this is transferred in a URL. And this call has no body at all by default in Magento. So what I just did here, I replaced, as I explained before, all parameters with the by prefixes. And then all those parameters come in like an object in a body. So this means you can assign directly 4, I mean, in this case, I showed 4, you can assign as many as you want to the tier or group prices for your product within one call. And let's check what's happened. So basically you see here 4 operations because we had 4 objects in one bulk. And which SKU was that? It was 0. And if you will go back to the products list and we will check the product and we'll go to prices. We will see all those prices are here. Yeah, that's also one of the features which Magento Bulk API provides. Okay, so basically we created the configurable product. That was my idea and my goal to show you how to do it for today. One small example with a delete, which is not, I cannot show you how it works because I made a fork from Magento 2.3.1 version and it will be available only in 2.3.2. But because all delete request has no body, I mean, you manipulate only with the URLs, and it's happening here the same when you're replacing the URL, and then object which you want to delete, in this case SKUs, are coming here like a body request. I guess now I will round up, at least for this moment, and then I guess Alex will show you how to work with an orders. I still have one topic to show, but I guess I will do it after Alex. We will see on time
Let's see.
what we have
Let's
left
see.
after that. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, just drop them in a channel in a YouTube. I will stop my screen sharing. Did I? No. No.
Cool. Awesome.
And yeah.
Thanks, man. Then we will hand over to the other Alex, and he's going to show us a little bit about order manipulation and how you can work with that through the bulk API process. So over to you.
Hi guys, thanks for presentation. So I will start sharing my screen, and what I will show you, as Alex said, as Alex shows, for some request we need to get bulk status. We need to unserialize them and the code to get some entity ID. In case of invoice, order, or credit memo creation, we always need to wait until order will be created, then check bulk status, unserialize them, and get order ID, get order item ID. And I want to show you some trick to make these calls, call chain, without waiting, and made it by another consumer. So, example, I have some pre-request script which generate orders entity for me. Example. Originally, when we made post-order bulk request, we need to get status. Check them, and then use response in invoice bulk request. Instead of this, I made some example, sample module, which use mass consumer sales. What he did actually, this mass consumer sales, it's merged class mass consumer and operation processor, which operate by message queue messages. And what I did here, I just inject order collection, order item collection. I get a message, Magenta encode them, and I search entity order ID by some increment ID. Example, when some ERP system, they always will have some increment unique key, which you can use to link order, invoices, and credit memo, and we can use them. For this, we need made some configuration. First of all, we need to create extension attribute. It's just for example, I created order increment ID, which I used in body of invoice. Instead of using these keys, which is required by invoice interface, and instead of this one, I will use just one order increment ID, which I use in my request. And so yeah, we don't need this one anymore. So we create order increment ID extension attribute. Second, create new consumer, mass consumer sales, which is listen another queue, async operation all sales. And I created some publisher because if we have if we will use original publisher, and we will have to run it queue. Example, all. And we will have running another queue. So one of them will proceed, and this consumer we don't want to use because they don't have our custom implementation to find order entity ID or order item ID. We need to use only one consumer. So because of this reason, I don't want to use original publisher, original topology. I also created a different exchange and linked them to the async Magenta Sales API save post, which is will handle order, invoice, and credit memo, shipment topics. And instead of one queue, I have async operation all sales queue, and I have Magenta sync sales new exchange, which we'll use in my consumer. So let's make some API calls. Check RabbitMQ. I have run it. Okay. Again. So a reason why I show you this instead of perform post order bulks and get orders, then inject to post invoice bulk result from post order bulk. I used one by one, and I don't need to wait before order bulk requests will finish it. I will not waiting until this all operation. If, for example, I will have thousands of orders, I don't need to wait. I just can perform this 3 calls and go home, example. So yeah, we have all of them. As you can see, orders I created and invoices created, and it's linked to the real order which we created before. Invoices also linked to orders, and all correct. You can find sample model in this one. Repository. And David, maybe you can add this one to the...
Yeah, I'll add it to the description. so that you can get it.
So the developer can try to make some their own implementation. So I think that's all.
Cool. Thank you, Alex. It was really cool. Yeah, that's stuff which I explained. So when you're making the chain calls, you always have to wait for responses and to read those responses. And that's a great example of the way how you can use asynchronous API when you're not waiting for responses and you just run all calls you have to execute and go home. I guess that's also can be applied like to configurable products workflow, which I just created, where you just put it and just and the products will be created by themselves. Yeah, that was nice. I guess we have some time, right?
Yeah, what I would like to do now is we've got a couple of questions in the chat. So maybe we start with those questions and then we can maybe dive into a bit more if those questions bring anything up. So the first question, and if at any point you have more questions, just add them to the chat and we will get to them. So first is from Nick, and he asks about the scope of the bulk API. So I'm guessing this means what is included in terms of what can you do out of the box.
Yeah. Magento bulk APIs cover all standard Magento REST API. So the synchronous one that everybody is basically using, it's covering all post put requests currently and delete from 2.3.2 version. So basically, yeah, I mean, it's not kind of development where we defining like which endpoints it have to execute. It's working on the top of the API and it's just taking all requests which are coming to the standard service contracts and convert them to bulk automatically if you ask them, like, please make me bulk out of it. So we don't need to develop basically anything. Just use it.
Cool. So that kind of, hopefully that answers your question, Nick, but I think that might also kind of cover a little bit of Christopher Daniel's question, which is if you already have a custom web API, do you need to, or what do you need to do to make that bulk or async?
Yeah, basically you don't need to do anything. If it's supporting put, post or delete request, it just will be available out of box, like bulk. You don't need to do anything, just take care about the parameters in URL. If you're using them, they have to be converted correctly. And if you're using the bulk, just wrap your your usual API body into the array, and then you can transfer multiple objects as an array in a body, and it will work out of box. Also note the page also will work, just Magento has no page request out of box, but it will work.
Okay, cool. And then I guess that also kind of maybe links in with Christopher's question a little bit. And if you want to get started using bulk and the async, what would you recommend be the first place a developer should go to who wants to start using this in one of their projects?
I mean, the main entry point, whatever API that async bulk or usual REST is a Swagger. You can just get the Swagger open. There is a Swagger for synchronous API, which is available with Magento also out of box, just with your standard Swagger. Just add like new parameter in the URL which is called type async. We can also then I guess post it in a description of the recording.
Yeah,
we'll do it later. Yeah, that's basically first step, and then just go ahead. Magento Dev Docs also has nice articles about the bulk API. That's must read if you want to get a bit more information about the bulk API.
Cool.
Yeah. we can also paste it there.
Yeah,
So,
we can add the links to, so we've added the links to the Postman examples that were shown today, and I will also add the link in the description for the dev docs and also for the example consumer that was shown as well. Right. Yeah, so if you have any more questions, I hope that answered Christopher. Nick's already replied saying it did answer his question, so that's awesome. If you have any more questions, please add them in. I have a couple myself, which are, you said that you were using this in a real life project at the moment.
yeah.
What for you is the biggest benefit for using this in real projects?
The biggest benefit for me that we have a project which running the RabbitMQ running, which have a RabbitMQ running, and like I guess a couple of months ago, I checked the statistic, like how many requests we had per day coming into Magento, and there was a couple of days when we had up to 1 million API requests coming into Magento instance. It was like 800,000. And the most important for me here, that I had no idea about that I can just have a system which runs stable. I had no downtimes. I have no complaints that the system runs slow or some data are missing. It just those 2 days peaks just went through and I didn't know about them. And that's basically the most important for me in the bulk API, that I can make it running and and I'm relaxed and I have nothing to worry about that it will overload the system with a request. Yeah.
Awesome. And at the moment, you said that it is in 2.3 for open source.
Yeah.
And you said it only covers RabbitMQ, correct? So it only works with.
Yep.
It only work. Do you know if there is a future plan to make it work with the MySQL? What do they call it in MySQL now?
I got what you mean.
Sequences.
No, I can tell you, we didn't plan any other integrations except currently RabbitMQ. If somebody has an interest, we are open for the ideas. We just had no. Most of our ideas and cases are based on the real use cases. Maybe not only like customer use cases, but also the like use cases from another project. For example, we had several use cases from MSI project, which asked like for one or another improvement. If you need some another queuing system running, we can check it. How much effort we need to integrate it, how easy is that, and maybe make some integration for it. One note to your question, that Magento currently has 2 queuing systems. It's RabbitMQ and a database. So database like not required any additional software, and you can just use the database as a queuing processor. Bulk API is not supporting the database processing. To have a database processing, you need to build another consumer, another publisher. So like another processor which will publish the messages and another which will read it. In our project, we have this in plans. We basically we're just looking for the contributors on this point, because we have so many issues that we cannot start them all at the same time.
Yeah.
So if somebody will be interested to support us here, we will be definitely happy.
Okay, cool. I noticed, or you mentioned it a few times, that there was little differences between the traditional API and the bulk API.
Differences in
terms of the URL is different,
correct,
or also
correct.
the body can also be different in cases. Is there in the dev docs, is there an example, a comparison, so you can know, like, hey, say if you've already got your system working with the normal API, is there a way where you can see, okay, this will work in the same way, or this might need changing?
There isn't basically. It's not maybe covering all cases you described, but we have in DevDocs the article which called bulk endpoints, which will describe the URL structure, which requests are accepted, and how to convert parameter and body parameters.
Cool.
You can definitely have a look there. If you're missing some information, also good point to the people who are listening or will watch it. Just drop me a message or drop message in bulk API. We can write additional dev docs if it's required for the
Yep.
people. So that's quite easily something we can easily do.
Awesome. Cool. I think that covers pretty much all of my questions. Again, if anyone's listening and has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We have about 10 minutes left. And I know, Alex, you had one more thing that you would like
Yeah.
to show.
I mean, yeah, if you have time,
If you think you can fit it in that time,
I can try.
then we can do it. Before we do that, though, I would like to just highlight that we are coming up to Imagine. So Imagine is coming up in a week. Next Saturday and Sunday, it kicks off with a contribution day. So we will be there on Saturday and Sunday, the community engineering team. And the exciting thing about this one is we have changed it up a little bit. So we will be bringing in some project work, some specific project work, as well as a beginner's table. So if you've never been to a contribution day and you are there at Imagine, then feel free to come on down, register on the Imagine page. On the agenda, you see there's a contribution day option. And we've got a beginner's table running, so we will show you how to start contributing. But we also bring you projects, and we have DevDocs will be there, MFTF, PWA, MSI, GraphQL, and excitingly, we will be starting the Adobe Stock integration project. So this will be a brand new project starting there. 2-day event. It's free to register, but we would like you to register so we can know about catering options and stuff, so we know how much we can prepare as best as that. If you have any questions about anything you've seen, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or however in Slack, whatever. My Twitter is @ManasD, and there's also the community engineering Twitter. So feel free to reach out that way if you have any questions. At any point, reach out that way. And then tomorrow, I assume no one will be watching this who is from India because it is quite late right now. But tomorrow there is a distributed contribution day across the whole of India, which is amazing to see. Vijay was in the call earlier because he's currently in America. But that is super exciting to see, and I'm excited to see what comes out of that. Last year's event was a great success. So yeah. Other than that, yeah, let's see what we can.
In 8 minutes now, right?
In 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
If you go over 8 minutes, we can give you a bit more time if it's interesting. That is. So
And
what have
let's
you got?
see. I mean, I don't know how much is interesting. Now it is. I hope so. I will take over this one. I have one more, as I told before, tips and tricks. How other you can use the Magento Bulk API. Currently, Magento Bulk API send in all requests which you will execute to the one queue, which is a sync operation all. And yeah, you can run multiple consumers on the same queue. But what you can also do, you can split your Magento Bulk API to be executed like in different queues also, and by different consumers. So basically, when you reduce the load, you can exclude the operations which you don't need, for example. And here I have a nice example, which I hope was not erased. So what you have to do, awesome. Yeah. What you have to do, or what I basically did, first of all, let's start from this one. First of all, we created a new binding, which is basically the connection between our topic names and our queues. And what I did here, that's basically the generated topic names. They're exactly the same as we have here on the table on the topic name, which I explained contains a service contract. And what I'm doing, I'm telling that all topic names, which will start from this prefix, which is basically Magento API catalog category repository interface, and here is a product repository interface. It's like all post-put operations related to category and all post-put operations related to the product will go to different queues, and that's the name of the queue. You can name it wherever you want. I mean, that's I called it like this because just to be more comfortable that it's the same as a topic name. So we have two queues here. What I will do, I will remove this one, which is original one, because as Alex already explained, then as Alex, that if you have them at the same time running, async operation all will listen for all topics, whatever they are. This means if I will leave this enabled, that will work like I have two consumers running at the same time, because they both will listen to the same topic name. So what I will do, I will remove it. And I will do the same here. Okay. Basically, here I also define two consumers, which will listen to this queue. So to our two queues related to the categories and related to the to products. And yeah, the consumer instance is the same, so nothing changed here. Yeah, that's it. I also will remove this one. And what I will do now, I will first close all this trash here. I will do setup upgrade. Yeah, one note also, which I mentioned before, that's in RabbitMQ we have now this queue. I would propose and delete it, because Magento will not delete it automatically, because it has nothing to do with RabbitMQ, just creating them there. And if you don't want to have mess and to overload your memory with not required data, because this queue still will listen for those topic names, I would propose to remove it. And then when you will start setup upgrade, what Magento will do, Magento will read those configuration files which we edited, and it will create then two new queues, especially for us. It will take some time. I hope faster than 4 minutes. Yeah. And yeah, now you see here we have two new queues, which is related to the queue, related to the category, and related to the product. And also, if I will do consumers list, you also will see that we have now two consumers, which is another one, because I commented out the original one. We have two consumers, and what we can do now, let's say if I will send the create products request to Magento again, maybe it will take a bit longer because of the cache, and also we'll say create categories. And if I now will check my table, that's our request. I didn't run any consumer yet, so that's why they're all pending, they're not executed. Okay. And we have here the products, and here's the point, here product, and here come in the categories. And if I will run here the categories, it's executed only the category queue and didn't touch any product. I mean, yeah, here's an error because we already have categories with those names, and it's time to create them with the same URL key, which is totally fine. But just what I want to show that with executing exactly this queue, I run in, let's say, only categories important product I'm not touching. In this way, I can split my bulk to the different consumers and different queues flows, which will make more strict understanding what is when executed. Yeah, can be quite useful also from performance point of view. I would, let's say, not recommend to run 20 consumers on a product creation, because Magento may have a deadlocks on the tables. But I would definitely suggest to run separately product and categories, because they, let's say, has no or almost no common tables.
Sure. And
there will be much less problems if you run multiple of them. Yeah, that's what I want to show. And just like a conclusion, I have exactly 1 minute. Our QS team is doing the performance testing of Bulk API, last 2 weeks. They're playing around with environment. And the first results we get, that basically looks like this. I mean, it's not really explanatory because it's self-generated stuff. I had no time to make it fancy. But that's basically response time on accepting the request. And what is it doing? We first send, let's say, async API, no, synchronous, like standard API, async API, and bulk API for one request, then for two requests at the same time, then for three, and then till 300 requests at the same time. And that's the response time of them. And the red line is usual Magento API. So basically what is it doing is accepting those requests and like 36 seconds taken if you send in really a lot of data at the same time, like the slowest one. Yes, at the same time, it's also running the product's creation. So that's a bit not only accepting, but it's also creating. But yeah, if you send in the millions of them, you may have a big problems, or it will take too long if you will send them only one by one. Then we have a asynchronous API, which working like faster. I mean, I know it's like 20, maybe 15% of the performance improvement. But yeah, take care that the async API is still executing one by one. This means you still need the server workers, basically the PHP, for example, PHP FPM worker that will do a single request. It's faster, but it's still not perfect because we're doing one by one. And this blue one is a bulk API of accepting a request. And you can see that it's like in 5 seconds, a bit more, it's accepted 300 requests to Magento. Yes, it didn't process the products. Yes, the processing will be executed by the RabbitMQ queue a bit later. Depends from your settings, the amount of consumers, and splitting the queues. But I mean, from point of view of accepting the request, and then you can be relaxed that the Magento will do all the other stuff itself, and you only have to check the status afterwards. That's super fast, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's only like 300. You can send 1,000 at the same time, and it still will be processed, because if you will send 1,000 of synchronous, your system will die. Yeah, that's then finally all from my side. 2 minutes late.
I'll let you off this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cool, awesome. So thank you to the two Alexes for showing that. I think it was important to see a few examples of how we can get working with bulk API in your projects. So hopefully you found that useful. And please reach out to us if you have any topics you would like to see in future Hangouts. We're currently looking for the next two to be around DevDocs and what the good stuff that's going on there, as well as MFDF, the testing framework, in another couple. So hopefully this has been of use to you. As I said before, if you're at Imagine, come down to the contribution day, come say hi. We'll have a few of our team members around through the whole event as well. So come say hi to any of us at any point. If you have any feedback or anything during, feel free to reach out during the event. And of course, if you have anything that you really want to know, or you've got more questions, you can reach out to us through our Twitter account. If you're in the Slack, feel free to reach out to any of the team members in our Slack. Or via email, and that is engcom@adobe.com. I think the Magento one still works, but use the Adobe one, and it'll definitely work. Other than that, I would like to say, see you next time, I guess. Thank you, Alex, and Alex. And thanks for watching.